Hi everyone, welcome to the Oxford Shortwave Log Shack. This is weekend number 2 of lockdown in the UK. I hope you're all well, keeping safe. I thought I might make this a weekly thing. We don't know how long lockdown is going to continue for. You know, it's probably going to be months, I'm sure. And you know, we're fortunate that we have a brilliant hobby that, apart from QRM issues, can be done at home very easily, unless you're sort of DXing for exotic stuff, in which case if you've got a lot of background noise, it can be a complete pain. And as we all know, a magnetic loop is the way to go. But I thought that, yeah, every sort of Saturday morning, I'd do a quick video just to kind of show you guys what I'm doing over the weekend, apart from the obvious stuff like cleaning and buying food. I never thought actually that buying food would be so interesting. I went to the local co-op yesterday, and I've been looking for eggs for over a week, and every time I'd gone in there or any other shop, there just weren't any, and it was starting to get really annoying because I started imagining sort of egg panic buyers having sort of queuing outside the door at like 8 o'clock in the morning when the shop opens. But yesterday I went to the co-op, and there were, well, put it this way, the shelves weren't full, but there were a few boxes of eggs, so I grabbed a couple, and I think that was probably my most joyous shopping experience of all time. Thank goodness that the sort of general panic buying is kind of over now, or it appears to be, although for obvious reasons, for social distancing, you know, we're still having to queue to go into the supermarket. But to be honest with you, I don't begrudge anybody that. I don't begrudge that at all, as long as it helps keep everybody safe. So anyway, so this weekend, there's a couple of new things that I've done. I'll have to go outside to show you the first one. I did something this weekend that I've been meaning to do for about a year. And what I've done is, on a sort of you have to excuse the grass, but having bought this house 3 months ago, I haven't bought a shed yet, so I can't like have a lawnmower. I've set up the Bonito Megaloop FX antenna in the garden. I say a permanent installation, it's basically hanging from the garden fence. And this is something that I had been meaning to do for a long time. So I now have 3 mag loops in the garden, basically. So I've got the Megaloop FX, and obviously at the moment my 2 Welbrook loops are still stood on the ground. They're not actually on the ground, there's a kind of short rod on each, but it's not an ideal setup, of course. And I've got a couple of tripods that I'm just kind of modifying, so these are going to sit on tripods until I get a shed organised. So there you go. So the reason I've set up the Megaloop in the garden is actually, well, 2 things really. One is that I've been sort of planning for quite a long time to make a direct comparison between the Megaloop and the Welbrook loop, using the RSP Duo, and I can't even remember if I've tried that before. I probably have, but now that I'm in a sort of quieter location, at least electrically, it seems to make sense to do that. My back garden, although it's a bit messy at the moment, is actually sort of turning into antenna farm. So right now I've got 3 magnetic loops, the G5RV, which despite all the sort of windy weather over the past sort of few weeks is still sort of standing, and then I've got my part of my super antenna, that sort of portable antenna thing that I bought that sits on a tripod, and I've got that set up for FT8 2 meters right now, and in fact that's what I'm doing. So so that's the antenna situation outside. Let's go back in the shack. So whilst the 2 Welbrook loops and my G5RV and my antenna, whip antenna for 2 meters enter the house in the in my shack, the Bonito actually the Bonito Megaloop FX, sorry, I'm just clicking on the computer, actually, that's set up. So what I've done is, the main reason I've done this is basically so as that, because I'm lazy, sort of, is so as that I can listen to HF, listen to shortwave with a decent sort of signal, with decent signal to noise from my living room. And so so that antenna basically passes. I've run out of window jumpers, and apparently you can buy them on eBay, but I need someone to send me a link because I've never seen them. So this basically, so the Megaloop FX basically passes through the patio doors here into the house, and then into the living room. And right now I've got my Sony ICF 2001D. That's actually RRI. And so yeah, so I can sort of sit on the sofa and listen to the radio and be lazy, rather than have to sort of get up and fire everything up in my in the shack next door. So interestingly, last night, using the Megaloop, well, using this actual setup, I recorded, and I'll upload them at some point, an absolutely storming signal from VOCM on medium wave, and a signal from Radio Clube de Para in Brazil, northern Brazil, literally like a local AM on this setup. So I'm quite happy about this. This is something I've been meaning to do for quite a long time, and in fact, I was actually going to put one of my desktops, like the Icon, the ICR 75 in here, or the low HF 150, and I might still do that, but that's more of a pain because I've got to find mains for it and etc. It's actually quite nice to sit here and be able to sort of just swap and change with all the various portables I've got that don't get as much use at the moment, because obviously can't go anywhere. So that's that. So effectively, so I've got two Magaloops that feed into the house in the shack, and the Bonito Megaloop FX Magloop, which feeds into the living room. And I recommend you all try it if you've got a magnetic loop, because you're going to be spending a lot of time at home, and to me it just seemed like a nice idea to be able to sit in the living room in the afternoon with the TV on, watching the news, which I'm addicted to now, obviously, with everything that's going on, and to be able to sort of switch on a radio and half a chance of actually getting a signal. The other thing I've done is that I've been meaning to do this, is that I managed to, my bike had a puncture, but I've got that fixed. So I'm ready for a DX-pedition somewhere, but when in sort of 3 months, 6 months, who knows. So that's that. The other thing that I'm doing is I am, and I think I mentioned this previously, having sort of been doing FT8 now for, oh my goodness, since I got my foundation license, I suppose, at least 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years. And I've made over 1,000 QSOs on sort of 80, 20, 40 meters, etc. Although I enjoy it, and it's something that you can do kind of in the background, which is good when you're not doing other stuff, having been sort of decoded as far away as New Zealand, Australia, and a couple, 2 or 3 of the research stations in Antarctica, and made QSOs all over the world, it's not exactly a challenge, even with sort of running 50 watts. So I moved over to 2 meters, because obviously that is much more of a challenge, and particularly with my aerial, which is at best compromised, at worst crap, and that kind of makes it a much more of a challenge. So I've been running FT8 this morning on 2 meters, and I've been heard several times. I've actually made a couple of QSOs this morning, actually. There's one, Golf 4, Papa Delta Foxtrot, and another attempted. So, it does work, and I am getting heard. What I'm waiting for is to actually be decoded on the continent, which has never happened. And I think it's something to do with, obviously, the fact that my antenna is certainly compromised. As I said, at best, at worst, it's basically not very efficient. I've been decoded in Northern Ireland. I think I've shown that on a previous video, but this weekend, I'm going to get some time. I'm going to see what happens on 2 meters with FT8, and so there you go. So I've got a HF listening set up now in the living room, which allows me to kind of lounge around and be lazy and do that over the weekend. I'm going to run the FT8 And the other thing I'm going to do actually is what I might do is that comparison of the Wellbrook loop and the Bonito Mega Loop. I might make that direct comparison because it's very simple for me to just route the cable from the Mega Loop FX back in here, either through the house or just take it out of that patio door and run it in here and do a direct comparison with one of the Wellbrook loops and the Mega Loop. And I've been meaning to do this for a long time, and I know that the performance on them is very similar, but it would be interesting to do that here in my new location. So yeah, so that's it. So you know, this is where I'm at today, and as I said, I hope you guys are keeping occupied. I hope you're keeping safe. Those of you that are working, I hope that your jobs are okay, if you can work, and if you can't, you know, I hope that you're okay at home. You know, if you ever want to chat or discussion, you can just drop me a message on the channel on Oxford Shortwave Log. I'd be happy to talk to anybody. My amateur radio club, Harwell Amateur Radio Society, are setting up Zoom meetings so as that the guys, because the demographic of my amateur radio club is very old. When you go to a club meeting, it's basically just full of old guys, and so in terms of the sort of the sort of general demographic of the club's sort of susceptibility to COVID-19, I would say pretty high, because I think a lot of the members are either around 70 or some of them are a lot older than that. So it's not safe to have meetings at the moment for obvious reasons. So we're doing Zoom meetings, of which I haven't actually had time to attend one yet, because I've just been totally swamped with work. But I will be doing that at some point. I will join those guys and do that. There's a committee meeting on next Wednesday evening, and normally I would drive to the sort of Harwell area of Oxford, but I won't be doing that. We're doing that online, which for obvious reasons makes a lot of sense. So but as for the weekend, as I said, you know, enjoy the hobby. Good chance to listen to the radio, and if you've got an antenna or two, hours to spare, you know, with a bit of experimentation, as I tend to do here in the shack. Other than that, that's about it really. I tidied up all my old copies of Practical Wireless. I'm not being funny, but if I did a video on each of those, the channel would be around for about 100 years. But I will review some of them and do some videos on those. And then yeah, but otherwise, you know, that's about it from me. So have a good weekend. Hope it's not too boring. Keep interested, and I think more than anything, yeah, just be safe, everybody. Okay, thanks for watching. 7-3.